Okay, we're at the start of the Apollo 15 anniversary expedition. The 50th anniversary expedition of the Apollo 15.
Can someone tell me which body we're actually, or where we actually?
We are 20 light seconds from Thingamabob Mine, heading towards the second star.
So, as I was saying, I'm on at the start point of the Apollo 15 50th anniversary expedition. Everybody's just getting in their position, and we'll be doing a mass jump, which I'm hoping to catch. Nice cutter. I nearly came in my cutter, but the amount of distance we're going to be travelling during the next 6 weeks or so, I decided to come in my Conda, just to make it quicker, and so I can look around a lot more when we get to the destinations, the waypoints. So yeah, there's about 14-15 people in this instance, and we'll probably max out at about 20. And once we've got them 20 in, we'll pick a body and we'll all jump to it. So yeah, so welcome to the start of the Apollo 15 50th anniversary. All cool, all good stuff. But yeah, so more people in now, and we're in Flotilla 2, Joe Bangle's Flotilla, and yeah, plenty of people here, which is cool. Pressing the wrong buttons because I just can't remember me keybinds for this new controller yet, but I'll get there. So yeah, this is Flotilla 2, and as you can see there's a fair few ships here, a lot of crates, a lot of condas, an upside down cutter. Or am I upside down? In space, is there even an upside down? So yeah, we're just awaiting the start, which will be around about 7 minutes. What the plan is for the start, I don't know, but we're probably about... Start is at game time, 1800 hours game time, and about an hour after that we'll probably be doing a mass jump. Right, so we've officially started.
I'm being surrounded by crates and phantoms.
And just to give you an idea of
Right, now comes a massive friend request sent.
what we have here. Lots of anacondas.
A little bit unconventional, but in this case, I think someone else has had the same idea.
David, you do realise that I just nearly smacked into somebody coming towards. Everybody's crowding around you. Can you ask them to move away, or perhaps you move out of the way? Otherwise, there's going to be a big explosion soon.
Oh right. Well, I'm in my fighter.
Joe, do you want me to break up wing now to give you space to get some other people in?
Yes, please, that'd be kind of you, thank you. Guys, we still have a good 20 minutes before the expedition leader's speech. Can I ask that you spread out a little bit? I can't see what's going on. I think you're all behind me, but I have a horrible feeling that it's quite ugly back there.
Make a bit more room for the ships coming in.
Okay, this is Jakar. I came back in, connected to the private group.
Yeah, it's BE8. Hey BE8, how's it going? Thanks to everyone in the chat as well. Everyone watching on Twitch, I hope you're having a good one. This is being watched not just on Twitch generally, but by members of the expedition as well. And I will start my address probably in about 12 minutes time, but we're all sort of forming up into our different flotilla formations, which is getting ready for the launch mass jump. This particular jump is coming at the end of, well, very short meet really compared to the normal sort of 2-hour affairs we do on most expeditions, but the launch events tend to be somewhat shorter. This is about an hour in length approximately, so they've already started, but everyone's forming up nicely.
So the voice you can hear now is that
It's
of
going all right.
Commander Yanick, who organised the
Last words, I
expedition.
know. But it's definitely a nice place to have it. There's a good array of ships. They've got the big guns like, corvettes and cutters, to the very sort of traditional expedition fare of the Asp Explorers and crates of various kinds, anacondas as well. It's, as you probably hear in the background, various people getting ready to jump in the not too distant future. So the idea with this is that we usually sort of meet up, have fun at the beginning, which is kind of now, and after a little bit I do a very brief talk on the history of exploration in space, usually like real life, but sometimes it's things that were dreamed of and but never happened, but this is very real. Obviously this is concerning ourselves with Apollo 15 and what led up to Apollo 15 as well. But we're all fans of space because that's why we're here. The thing with Elite, it's a very sort of time-consuming game. You wouldn't really be doing it unless you actually were quite committed. And because they say it's not something that you can really sort of learn in 5 minutes. Whichever way the orientation goes. The thing is, that's the thing with space, isn't it? There is truly no up or down. It's all relative to where you are. This is one flotilla group amongst several today. I say so far we've got 500 different sign-ups. I think we're pushing like 550, 560 the last time I checked. It could well be more by now. Approximately. As I say, it's happening so fast at the moment. Thank you for everyone who has signed up to the expedition. You're all most welcome. Some of you I recognise from previous trips. A lot of you I have never met before, but you're all delightful. But obviously for those of you who aren't so much aware of what we're doing, this is a 50-year anniversary celebration of the epic real-life Apollo 15 flight, which many have considered to be like the high watermark of exploration, human exploration of our solar system, as of now, the early 21st century. And you can see why, but that will become more and more apparent over time, if you're not already familiar with this particular leap into the unknown that they did. I think most people tend to be fairly familiar with what happened with Apollo 11, because obviously that's the most famous one. And understandably so, the first step on another world other than our own. It's epic and very rightfully so considered to be truly groundbreaking. But yeah, so this expedition is a trip of elite, trip of elite explorers, winging our way across the galaxy, probably fairly near the bubble I describe it as being. We end up being, our trip's 19,000 light years. In a straight line it's only about 8,000, but we go the long way around for many things to see, many interesting, weird and wonderful sights along our way. Hence an expedition that's good for veterans and beginners alike. Also, we are doing both Horizons and Odyssey instances other than today, which is the launch, but for simplicity's sake everything's being done in Horizons for this particular meeting. Just to keep it nice and simple, just because we know the intercing a lot better actually in Horizons than we do in Odyssey. We've tested a little bit for Odyssey, we just really don't know enough about it or how reliable it truly is, but with Horizons we have like years of sort of mental databases about what it is, how it behaves, etc, etc. Some really sort of beautiful paint jobs as well, all of these ships. Ooh, just collided with a ship there in the distant camera. You can see the all-seeing eyes to the left there. That sort of, red eye shape of Barnard's Loop. I think also with a few nebula contained within it, like the Orion Nebula. Well, from this perspective, that's the way it looks anyway. But it's an amazing sight, it truly is. But yeah, the celebration of Apollo 15 seemed to be something that I think a lot of people who know a lot about space exploration, the history of it, will probably recognise it as being an amazing trip. But yeah, I think Apollo 11, Apollo 13 tend to be more famous trips. Even Apollo 17 to some degree being the last one actually is more famous, but it shouldn't necessarily be so. But sometimes it happens, sometimes these things kind of fall through the cracks. To some degree anyway. Just look around a bit more. See the sort of gas giants over there. But the High Nebula itself just envelops us completely. And the other gas giant over to that side. But this is the thing about Elite, it is truly a beautiful game. Also, as been said in like the build-up and the literature to this expedition, this is something of a last hurrah as far as big expeditions are concerned in the Horizons sort of era, the Horizons tech, because obviously when Horizons came out it gave us the opportunity to land on all these planets that just weren't accessible before. You could never land on anything in the base game. So it opened up a whole new opportunity for these different trips to happen. Expeditions started from people, groups of friends traveling together, then built up to a bigger and bigger things. That's especially how the first Distant Worlds expedition started. Commander Eramus and a couple of friends were sort of traveling across the galaxy, and they just built up more and more people along the way, and it became kind of bigger and bigger and more organized, because I suppose it needed to be, really. I had over 1,000 commanders, and I think it was something like 3,000 commanders. Someone will probably correct me because I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's pretty epic. I mean, it's still the second biggest expedition in Elite history to date. I don't think that's going to be beaten anytime soon, other than its successor, the even more epic Distant Worlds 2, which had 13,000 commanders in it. I know that one because I was on that one. First Distant Worlds, no. I was in game at the time and exploring, but I didn't really sign up in time for Distant Worlds 1, unfortunately. How's the audio coming across, everyone? Because at the moment I don't have much of a feedback mechanism because the internet connection isn't too great. Well, that's true about it. And the chat Rebulizer, as it pronounce it? Yeah. 2024 we have another moon landing. Yeah, that's the idea. I hope so, anyway. I mean, Project Artemis is designed, obviously, to be the next mission to the moon, and 2025 is looking more likely. I think it will happen. Because so many, treaties and agreements have been signed and so many contracts have been signed. I think it's just a matter of when rather than if. I know there isn't the urgency of the Apollo era when you had like two superpowers racing against each other to be the first one to do all kinds of things in space. To land on the moon was obviously like the greatest of goals. And now the Soviets were trying to do this as well as the Americans. They just didn't do it so publicly. I mean, whatever rights and wrongs of the political situations of the world of that time, America did all these things very publicly. I mean, if something failed, if there was an American space disaster, you knew about it because it was done in public. In the Soviet Union, there were several failures that were never really public, not for years afterwards anyway. Like the famous N1 disaster, where their equivalent of the Saturn V, the N1 rocket, which would have taken them to the moon if it had worked properly, and it blew up on the launch pad, and yeah, it was one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history. And we're talking something that makes like the mother of all bombs look like, you know, a small catapult by a child, I suppose. You know, like they're talking about like, was it 7 kilotons of TNT that it was the equivalent of? If it all exploded, I don't think all the energy was released in that explosion. Still, that's another story for another day. How's everyone doing in chat? How's everyone doing out there? I hope you're having a great day. Hope we can provide some entertainment for this evening, or morning, or wherever time it may be, wherever you are in the world. One of the great beauties about the elite community is the fact that it is truly global. People on every continent, apart from Antarctica, but you never know with research stations down there. They have internet these days, so you never know. Yeah. Oh, it's all good, it's all good. Yeah, I'll begin my talk fairly shortly. Just bear with me for a moment and I will start rolling. Not jumping, but just with my talk. Right, bear with me just one moment. Okay, right, we should have another starting soon image. I should still be coming across with the audio, but then we can go into it in a moment. Oh, hey there, Derek Johns, how's it going? Good to see you. Good to see some very familiar names. Some people I obviously don't know, but I will get to know, no doubt. So welcome to you all. Right, okay. I'll start the address in just 1 second. This is the thing about being an expedition organizer. So many people try to send messages to you for all kinds of things. Someone's just posted something quite interesting in the chat. I think it's a poem about space exploration. Yeah, that's cool, by Colonel Alfred Warden. Those of you who are in the Discord, the Crew Lounge, there's Chanks Atomi has posted a very nice poem, done by Colonel Warden, who was the command module pilot of Apollo 15. But anyhow, as they say, on with the show. Okay, the road to Apollo 15 is obviously quite a long and complex one, but I'm going to try and sort of summarize the sort of Apollo stuff, or the building blocks, in like quite a short burst. But I'll start it off at the beginning with President JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the political architect, you would say, of the whole Apollo program. But here we go.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked. Therefore, ask the Congress, above and beyond the increases I have earlier requested for space activities, to provide the funds which are needed to meet the following national goals. First, I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish.
Okay, yeah, JFK, very much one of the icons of 20th century politics, and definitely the sort of, you know, I was obviously well known for being the main sort of impetus behind Apollo within America, or at least the sort of start of the Apollo program. But the reality was, it was even better than that, really. He was obviously the charismatic figure that did those amazing speeches and sold the idea of going to the moon to the American public, the world public as well, because it captured the imagination of the world, of course, and also to the US Congress, where the bills would be paid from, and they needed some convincing. But I think this helped, definitely. The good thing was, his vice president, Johnson, was actually in charge of his space council. Now this will become very useful over time, but Johnson was a man of great persuasion and a huge fan of space, more so even than Kennedy was. Kennedy was a fan of space, there's no doubt about that whatsoever. But ultimately, it was Johnson who actually did most of the actual legwork behind the scenes to try and get NASA sort of running with eventually what would lead through Mercury and Gemini into the Apollo program and beyond. This picture here in the main slide, you've got obviously Kennedy's at the center, and sort of second from the left you've got Johnson, and obviously at this point Johnson running a space council before Kennedy's death is kind of one of the key things about this, not just getting everything going in a sort of day-to-day sense, but when he became president in his own right, you had a president who was a massive space fan and was gonna absolutely completely see the Apollo program through as far as he could. Obviously he wasn't he wasn't re-elected. He didn't actually stand for election again due to other controversies which we're not going to go into here. But as far as space is concerned, yeah, him and JFK were an amazing duo who propelled the Apollo program, you know, through a somewhat resistant Congress at times. Obviously there were people in Congress who were very much behind it, but a lot of people who weren't as well, and that will turn up in the story again a little bit later on. Still, on the subject of JFK and Johnson, there's some more images here. Obviously him, this is at the Cape, Cape Kennedy, Cape Canaveral, depending on the era. Him with some of the astronauts on the right. You've got Gordon Cooper, Gus Grissom, two of the Mercury 7. With in the background you can see the an early version of the Gemini capsule I think that they're working on. This one I think it might be like 1962, maybe early 63. But I think there was definitely a time that Kennedy visited the Cape not too long before his assassination. I think this might actually be the one from this. But there's a few more images I think that are kind of, you know, pertinent for this. Here is, again, sort of Kennedy with an early version of the lunar module. We wouldn't really recognize it from what happened later on. It looks weird and sort of like an early sci-fi thing, like maybe 1950s sci-fi. But yeah, it was that was literally an early mock-up of what they were working on for the lunar module. Forward to this waypoint, this launch waypoint is named Saturn for the reasons of the Saturn rockets that took, you know, our valiant astronauts to the moon. What you see in the background is Kennedy in the center there with the chief designer of the Saturn rockets, Werner von Braun. Again, a somewhat controversial figure in his own right, but definitely a brilliant engineer and a very good sort of technical organizer is the word I would use. But what you see in the background is the first Saturn rocket, the Saturn 1, like a prover for technology really. But on the road to the moon, it wasn't just the Saturn rockets that were there. You had the first move into space with men. You had the Mercury program. This picture is the Mercury 7. A amazing group of men. Truly sort of legends, not just in America but around the world, as in probably the most like tested group of people, at least as far as the tested pilots in history. Virtually every medical test known to man was performed upon them, and all exceptional people. A lot of them were considered to be mega geniuses as well, which is quite amazing. But yeah, these very brave people flew those early Mercury missions. This is a good example. This is Mercury Atlas, one of the first orbital Mercuries. But Mercury was only the first step along this road. Then you had Gemini. This is the second group of astronauts who were to star a lot in the Apollo landings later on. And then you've got a little picture of the Gemini capsule in the middle. Don't worry, this lecture won't go on for too long. It's not really a lecture, it's just like a sort of friendly chat more than anything else. At least I hope so. But continuing. Yeah, there's Gemini. I think there's an early Gemini test, probably 3 or 2. But either way, it's a very cool picture, I thought. So I thought I'd put some nice ones for Gemini. And that's the meeting of the 2 Geminis in space. This picture I really love, because it's doing on those early sort of docking experiments with the Agena. But just look at the background, and that's just amazing. But yeah, they can, through the Gemini program, they actually developed a lot of these technologies and techniques that they would use for Apollo, because they didn't really know how to do all these things. You know, to dock a spacecraft, to catch another one up in changing orbits, to change the shape of your orbit. You know, just all these things to spacewalk even. This was not understood at the time. Talking about spacewalk, there's a picture of a well-known man in the Apollo program. This is Mr. Buzz Aldrin. And this is the last Gemini mission. And he, quite late in the day, got this particular flight, excelled in it, did, to that point, the longest US spacewalk, and therefore, by doing so well, earned himself a position on the backup crew of Apollo 8, and then, famously, on Apollo 11. Back to the sort of Saturn, though. This is the first manned Saturn. This is the 1B, which Apollo 7 went up on. Now, this is kind of key to our story in many ways. And again, something like 15 itself does get quite overlooked in the grand sweeps of history. Mostly because this was the first Apollo manned mission. And it came after the Apollo 1 disaster, where unfortunately 3 astronauts burned to death in an early Apollo capsule. But the pressure was really on to NASA at this point. And basically, if the Apollo 7 mission had failed, Apollo was over. There was no way that Congress was going to keep bankrolling it. NASA itself may well have actually fallen as well. So the pressure on these guys was beyond extreme. I think in the history of NASA, only 2 missions had to go 100% right, or NASA itself was in deep doo-doo, if not the whole program cancelled. The first one was Alan Shepard, when long after Yuri Gagarin, for obvious reasons. Apollo 7 is the other one. But they didn't just do well, they excelled. They smashed it out of the park so much that they didn't actually need some successive missions that they had originally planned to do after Apollo 7. And here's a picture of the crew of Apollo 7. There were some controversies with this as well, and they never flew in space again, any of them. But again, that's a story for another day. Quick picture of something from Apollo 7, the upper stage. Again, like testing various techniques for later Apollo missions. And now we get to the big guys. This, the Saturn V, the world famous booster. To this day is still the biggest launcher to ever propel humans into space, and the only one that's ever taken people to the moon. But on the back of the exceptional flight of Apollo 7, it allowed them to leap to the moon, to orbit the moon, earlier than anyone had anticipated, including the Soviets. It's one of the reasons they did this. So instead of the first thing, you think, oh, we've got a new rocket here, we've got this really powerful Saturn rocket. First time out, let's send it around the Earth maybe. That was the original plan, high orbit test. You know, really, really far out orbit from the Earth, but still Earth orbital. And what happens is that they think, well, we could actually just go to the moon with this. Now, this may actually be NASA's bravest decision ever, because if you think about it, you've got an untested rocket with people. Okay, they've done some unmanned tests, but you've never sent people up before. The first time you sent it into space, you send people around the moon. Now, that these days, they would never be allowed to do that, but at the time, it was considered to be a pretty extreme risk. NASA were more confident than anybody else, but, you know, really did well. They didn't land on the moon on Apollo 8, but they definitely were the first people to ever see another world up close by orbiting it. This is the gallant crew of it, which some of you may be familiar with. On the right-hand side, we have Jim Lovell, the very famous commander of Apollo 13, but in this one, he was just the command module pilot. But still an amazing thing to do. Seen the moon before, he went on Apollo 13. And yeah, this is another sort of great moment of history, but hence the sort of theme for this waypoint. All these waypoints in the expedition have a theme. You probably notice there's different names, like Waypoint 1 Saturn, and there's different like crew members' names and other things that connect with Apollo 15. So there always like a theme that I'm running with this, and hence like Saturn for today and the launch, because what better to launch with than the rocket itself. And this final image is, I think there was a poll in the very early noughties for what is considered to be the best photographic image of the 20th century. And this was picked. This is Earthrise. This was taken by the lunar module pilot on this particular flight. And it is the first time the Earth was actually viewed by people from another place, another world. And you imagine seeing in that situation, you're in this spacecraft that's just brand new, you're the first test of it. And you see that, you see your own, everything you've ever known. You can put your hand up and it will obscure it. Think how they must have felt. They're amazing people for amazing times. But, back to the present.
So it appears that Yanick Streams lost his audio, so I dare say he'll be back shortly. I'm not sure what's going on with oh, he's back.
Better? Okay, cool. No, I don't know if you got the bit about the HBO's Earth to the Moon. That's a great series, and as people have been pointing out in the chat. Yeah, we should be ready to get going in the near future. I just have to check a few things with different flotillas to make sure we're all ready to get going. But yeah, there's so many things to do with this whole sort of era of Apollo and just the period leading up to it. They did so much work. I mean, if you think about it, from the beginning, the first American in space was 1961, and the year we're talking about for Apollo 15 is 1971. In 10 years, they went from knowing nothing about how to handle a space flight to literally flying between mountains across a lunar mountain range to land on a plane on the moon. That's a hell of a step in 10 years. It's insane if you think about it. Yeah, even considering the money that they had, it's quite amazing that they managed to pull it off. Right, just bear with me a moment while I check in with various wings and flotillas. I think this one looks ready to go, doesn't it? Yeah, I think wings are checking in. I'm just quickly checking it out. Okay, we've got 3 or 4 flotillas for today. We're trying to pack as many people into each one as we possibly can, so hopefully it'll be fine. Famous last words, I know, but welcome to the slightly risky business of expeditions, potentially. It's all good. Okay, to everyone who's listening in the Discord and chat, signal to me if you're ready to jump in the near future. If we can try and do this in a synchronized way, it'll be better.
Okay, I'm gonna what I'm being told.
Okay. I will try and jump. Let's say the present time is 48 minutes past. Should we set the jump for 55? Actually, let's jump on the hour. No, that's probably a bit too long, isn't it? Let's try, yeah, jump at 55 minutes past. That might be the best thing to do.
Yeah, so that's what I've been told we go jumping to.
This is always the way, just adapting to these situations.
From what I can see, certainly whether everybody's pointing.
I'll go with Discord as well to have some fun with people. I mean Discord voice, not Discord full stop. You know what I mean? There's always some fun chat to be had. Rejoining my own wing in chat as well. I should say Flotilla, it's not. It's a wing of sorts, but you know. Right, here we go. Hello, everyone.
Take my buds out and give him a charge.
Hi, Yanick.
Hey, warning to everyone, you're live on stream at the moment, so watch what you say if it's a bit, you know, OTT. Yeah, try and keep it PG-13 if possible, but you know.
It can get kind of confusing because I'm watching your stream and now I'm hearing myself.
Oh yeah. It can be a little bit weird. Best thing to do is turn, if you're actually in my Flotilla, it's best to turn the sound off of the stream because you're just hearing me anyway, so otherwise you're going to be echoing in your ears and yourself echoing in your ears as well, so.
Yeah. Is anyone gonna click the for the net jump later?
Yeah, someone probably will.
So yeah, just waiting for the jump. 18:55, the jump is going.
At the moment, the jump should be at 55 minutes past. I'm trying to get all wings to report in. Keep saying wings, it's flotillas, isn't it? You know, I've been reading too much Apollo stuff recently. This is part of the side effect of like being a big fan of space history. You can end up confusing yourself to the present day sometimes. But that's a risk all historians take, even if I'm an amateur sort of space historian. It'll be a fun career, yeah.
On PlayStation 4, we all took roles on Apollo 11, and we did the countdown proper.
Yeah. I think with this one, it's like particularly being the launch, it seems good to try and get everyone doing it at the same time.
Yep. I mean, we did the Capcom, go. Setcom, go. It was fun.
Yeah.
Everyone took a role. We all scripted it out and we recorded it and streamed it out. It was fun.
Mac has arrived, so I think
okay, cool.
The instance is ready to go.
Yeah, okay, I think most people are reporting that they're okay for 55. Spool up in my particular flotilla if you haven't already done so. Should be
17.2 light years.
Is this the Heinz Sector FBX one?
That's the one?
Yes. T1-6.
And drop it in the text.
Okay.
It's incredible when you see all the ships jump.
Flotilla kind of at random.
Oh, fair enough. And I'm glad you're here. No, that's just cool.
Turned out to be a good choice.
Yeah, I thought we were getting overloaded a bit earlier. I think there was a point it was slowing down quite badly. It seems to have actually sped up a little bit since then. Okay, we've got a couple of minutes still. Should be fine.
Hello, Mike.
The first nice jump ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyone who's actually listening in from other flotillas, if you can't make it on 55, jump as soon as you can, but as many as you can, try and jump on 55.
So do we accelerate at 55 or do we accelerate at...
I'll do the countdown. Once it
32.
reaches 0,
Exactly,
yeah, once I say engage, or get going, whatever word I'm using, it's usually engage, you know, then you sort of hit full throttle. you don't have to boost. It's kind of sometimes dangerous to boost if you're too close to other people. If you've got space, then fair enough. But it's best to use your own judgment. Use your judgment where you can and cannot boost into. Some ships don't even have boost. That's true. So
Yeah, I mean, my Anaconda literally can't boost.
Okay, then problem solved then.
If I boost, I shall go very, very quickly. But my ship is also quite fragile.
Less than a minute to
Probably
go.
Become slightly exploded.
Cool, right.
So landing gear up as a reminder.
Yeah. Well, I'd pull it back in now, to be honest. If you've got landing gear out, I'd pull it back in, because we're pretty close now. We're at 30 seconds away, so...
Yeah.
This is so cool, man. Never done this shit before.
Okay, right. I'll
Here
do the
we go.
countdown for the last 10 seconds.
It's up there with the coolest thing I've ever
This is one of the best things going
It's up
on
there,
this
man.
game. Mass jumps. They're just
Right,
fantastic.
stand by. Ready, everybody? In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
People are going
2,
early.
1. Engage.
Let's go, my boys.
Let's
I'm
do
so
it.
slow.
And we're away.
How fantastic is that? It's just absolutely amazing.
And I think we've all made it as well.
I'm waiting until
That was impressive.
I do love big mass jumps. They're cool.
taking photos. And I think it's time I
No, we are.
edit out. Just how amazing.
Yeah. Oh, so many people in
I think there's a few streams covering this as well at the same time. Spread around. But you see all the fireflies, yeah, some of those other commanders. It is. I'm just showing, flying around just to see the fireflies. It's always cool to have these many people in the same place at once.
There we go.
Wherever you go in the bubble or near the bubble, you see the all-seeing eye of Barnard's loop. It follows you everywhere.
Amazing.
That I'm pointing at right now.
Ships everywhere.
Now it's on to waypoint 2, which the information should be pinned in the main chat, and also it should be in announcements as well. So
Right,
it's,
so
in a few places. But yeah, as always with explorers, like take whichever route you wish to take. You could go to straight line, buckyball it if you want. You could, use economic sort of boot jumps and what have you, and or go completely off plane. Do whichever you want to do. It's this one is a slight sort of angle around the edge of the bubble, but it'll be at that place tomorrow, which is it's spectacular in its own way. But you'll see what I mean when we arrive. But yeah, I'm going to keep streaming for a little bit anyway. But I'm going to keep on flying.
Reminder to people. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, absolutely. You say.
Reminder also that.
So I'm going to exit the
if you
stream
want to pick up a carrier, Deb.
and go back into the Discord channel.
Splendid. I love watching my own mistakes, preferably in slow motion if you can do it.
Were you the Anaconda at the back?
No, that was
No,
me.
no, I was the Crate Mark II. It looked like the engine stalled.
Oh, right.
I was the Condor at the back.
Oh, you as well?
I was recording it all, yeah.
Good lad, good lad. I'm gonna hang about because there's no way I'm gonna meet you guys later on in the expedition. I'll be way behind you all.
Well, thank you all for turning up today, and hopefully when we see the footage we'll agree it was well worth the effort. And I look forward to seeing all of you on the trip and also at the next waypoint. Thank you again.
So,
Same to you, man. See you next time.
waypoint is
Cheers, buddy.
tomorrow, is at the same time or something?
Yes, it is. So, this was just the dry run. Tomorrow we do it properly, and this time I'll jump with the rest of you, I think. That's my ambition.
I'll hold you to your word. See you tomorrow.
Take care, folks.
Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.
Fly safe all. I'll catch you at the end.
I'll post pics and vids as soon as I can. So there we go. That's the that was it then. All done until tomorrow, when we'll do it all again. But yeah, I don't know whether we jump in for waypoint 2 tomorrow. I don't know what the full itinerary is. I know what the waypoints are, but I don't know what the full itinerary is. I'll catch up with that. So that's the Apollo 15 50th anniversary expedition officially started. Thanks for watching. Catch you later, folks. Taddy bye.